Over the next few videos, I'm going to bring the concept of how to raise your vibrancy. I call it the vibrancy because admit it, I mean, if we're going to be having a really good second and third half of our life, there are things that we're going to need to work on that we may not have either had time to work on before, or there was a fear, a low-grade fear about diving into those places that made our heart tremble, really. So if you really want true vibrancy in your life, it's time to do the work to get there. And I don't want to frighten you away or make you uncomfortable, although at times excavating those places that provide that energetic block will be uncomfortable, and for some of you, very uncomfortable, but it's worth doing the work if you really want to move into a place of thriving, not just surviving, and really working with the gifts that are inherent specifically to you. And the only way to really and truly do that is to bring out the vibrancy in you, which to me is not just a matter of glowing and looking pretty and, moving and dancing, although that's all part of it if you want it to be. But there's an inexplicable energy running through you that you need to help or practice getting it to flow through more easily and more effectively, so it expresses itself all throughout your life. So I call this the vibrancy code. It's one of the codes, and it's the art of letting go. And Dr. David Hawkins made this very famous in his book, Letting Go, and he's also the author of Power and Focus. You might know him for that book as well. Both books in tandem together really provide an amazing bedrock of work for you to read through and do the exercises and practice. I mean, he's not well known for no good reason. These exercises work. And a lot of people, for some reason, think, well, some of the exercises are way too simple. We have this story and this narrative that if your nose isn't to the grindstone and you're not bleeding through hard work, that there's no value there. And I think we seem to miss the point. It's not that there's no value there because it's too simplistic in your mind. It's because it allows you to focus, and we don't want to focus. We want to do. We need to be. We need to feel. And these examples and exercises that I'll go through are really 5 simple questions that will help you bring your attention back to where it needs to be, okay? Because if you're not working from that place, if you're not working from that pure potential of joy sitting there, what good is the second and third half of your life? It's just more of the same. And even though our bodies have matured and we look older and people will think that we're in our senior years, it doesn't mean that you have emotionally matured. Your emotional intelligence hasn't come up with your age. It's not equal to your age. So the point is, now that you have a little bit of time, you have a little bit of experience behind you, let's work on your emotional life so you can actually enjoy what you've earned over the years. Now, one of the first places to start is to check in with yourself. Ask yourself, how am I feeling? Are you feeling down? Are you feeling depressed? Are you afraid of something? Are you weary of something? Are you tired? Are you happy? Are you joyful? What's going on with you? But what I'm really trying to get at here is we usually repress and squash down the difficult things, the uncomfortable. And even though we believe that we have done that work of hiding away or running away from it, it will express itself in unwanted times, either throughout your relationships. All of a sudden you load over everybody with unwanted emotions right when you don't want it to happen. And I'm sure some of you would know exactly how you've done that in the past. I know I've done that. I've done that at least twice in my life that I remember, and every time I think about it, I'm just so embarrassed for myself. But it happens because we haven't dealt with underlying emotions that when we get triggered, we vomit all over those, especially those we love most. We don't mean to hurt people, but that part of us that we didn't deal with just comes out right when we think that we've dealt with something. We really haven't gone in and done the work that we needed to do. So this is the thing that I'm trying to get you to understand here, is to take some time. Some of you might need to do this in the presence of a therapist or a counselor, but most of you are able to do this. Just get a notebook or a journal and sit with these questions, and it might take you days to get through it. It's not something that it's a 15-minute conversation with a cup of coffee or a glass of wine. I want you to really take your time, because we're talking about excavating repressed emotions, repressed feelings that you haven't dealt with. And if you're wanting a vibrant second and third half, and not that you can't fool yourself into it, because some of you are well practiced at hiding from those ugly or uncomfortable emotions, you truly want to have an authentic experience going forward, this is the work that you'll want to do. Get yourself a journal and a great pen. I love great pens. It just glides across the paper smoothly. And ask, how am I feeling? And take a moment to really go deeply within. It's almost like a meditative practice at this point. Really get in there. We've not practiced or ever really been taught how to handle our emotions, or how to recognize them, or how to connect to them. And this is an opportunity. You might work on this one question for a long time. How are you feeling? I check in with myself throughout my day. How am I feeling? What's going on? Why are my shoulders all the way up by my ears? Bring them back down. What's happening? What am I thinking? A lot of our physical reflexes are connected to how we're feeling, and it goes beneath our awareness. So we don't even recognize ourselves. We are so opaque to ourselves. That's why it's a really great idea to work with another. Like, when people get in front of me, I can see what their body is doing, and they can't see it. And that's why I'm able to ask these deep dive questions. What are you feeling? Why are you feeling that? Okay, and just write it out. We're not trying to fix anything yet. This is about raising your awareness. Know yourself, know thyself. You've heard that axiom before. Know thyself. This is the beginning of starting to know yourself. I really believe that when we get into our midlives, this is an opportunity to really connect to our true selves. We have some more time. We're not raising children to that degree anymore. Our jobs might be winding down. You have some space in your life to spend time with yourself. Everyone's trying to run around trying to connect up with another. Take time to be alone if you have that opportunity. Don't run and get divorced to be alone, but even if you are with a partner, carve out some alone time throughout your day, every day, maybe first thing in the morning, sometime in the afternoon, or right before you go to sleep, wherever you can find it. But make time to be with you. Be with yourself. Be with self. Inquire it within. How are you feeling? Okay? The next one is to sit with it. Once you find out how you are feeling, sit with it. And this gets tricky because it's not comfortable to sit with uncomfortable emotions. Maybe there's some shame involved, or some guilt involved, or a past situation in your life, unresolved issues that you haven't dealt with yet. And I don't think any of us have escaped some of that, some more than others, but to some degree we have something in our past perhaps that every time we think about it, we tighten up, or we can contract our body, and we try to dampen that back down, push it back down. And if you run into those feelings, you try to escape it, either through distraction, copious amounts of watching television, through alcohol and drugs, or they're shopping. There's so many ways that we try to run away or detach from the ugliness of those feelings. But this is an opportunity for you to sit with it. Be uncomfortable as you need to be. One of my favorite things, I have an opportunity to get out into nature a lot. And when I'm out there, this is when I bring these things up, because the moment I start feeling uncomfortable, I start walking. I start really walking. I walk fast, I walk hard, I hike, I climb, and I'm going through this thing until it dissolves. I don't try to get rid of it. I'm not running away physically, I'm going with it, but my energy is working. I'm moving through it. I'm allowing it to move through me. So in order for me, this is how I handle it. I need to move my body as it moves through me, because it's not easy, it's not comfortable, right? I don't like how it feels, but I know it's important to feel it. Right? That's my way of sitting with it, right? I don't have to physically sit with it. I just have to not push it down or push it aside like I used to do, because it's important what is happening in that moment. Why am I feeling that guilt and shame? Why am I trying to run away and escape or hide? Right? And maybe some repressed memories might come up. So for those of you that need that additional scaffolding around you, may need to work with a professional to handle that. All right. While some of you might just need to remember it and understand what's happening with you. And is it something that you are now ready and prepared to let go? As you sit with it, go into the next part, which is, can you allow it? And I really think I talked about that in the last one, which is sitting with it. But can you allow it? Now, the majority of the time you won't want to allow it because again, it may not feel good. We want to feel pleasure, not pain. And this could be on the side of pain for a lot of you. So you don't want to be in that, but can you allow it? And I would think that you are stronger than you know. You haven't given yourself an opportunity to feel that, right? So here is the opportunity, and this one may take practice to allow it. You might allow it to pop its or rear its ugly head for 30 seconds before you move it back into its safe hiding place. And you might extend that time longer and longer until you're able to have it fully there in front of you. All right? So take some time to practice these. Don't feel bad about yourself if you are not able to do this right off the bat. Like I said, this is not easy work. Okay. A lot of you might think, oh, well, Pam's just going to have us throw 5 questions down and wham, bam, it's fixed. No, number 3 might make you run screaming into the night, and you may never get past number 3. Okay. And a lot of people choose not to. They'd rather live out the rest of their days hiding from themselves, hiding from the other side of themselves, hiding from the shadows that are lurking back there that make you uncomfortable, but it also keeps you stuck. It doesn't allow you to feel into the beauty and the greatness of life. Life isn't always easy. It's not always fair, but you can experiment with your life. And I'm going to be talking more and more about that in this vibrancy series in our midlife, because our life, we have such a great opportunity to experiment and to try new things and to see into where we can actually go and how far we can rise within ourselves. I'm not talking to go out and conquer the planet and to become rich and famous, which, I really don't advocate. You want your autonomy. You want your freedom. This is about you. How much more of yourself can you bring forth? Now, once you have given yourself permission to allow this, the next thing to ask yourself is, can you let this go? And this is the major premise of David Hawkins' book, Letting Go. Can you let it go? A lot of people are stuck on the blame game. A lot of people are stuck in judgment about what might have happened to them, whether it was through a painful divorce, whether it was through issues with your children, maybe there was a bad financial deal or partnership that went awry or something. But either way, can you let this go? Because if you can't let those types of things go, they run you. You don't run it. It colors your whole worldview going forward. And that's why you see a lot of bitter older people. They are still ruminating over something that might have happened 50 years ago. And some of those people that they dealt with aren't even here any longer. They've already passed on, but they are still stuck in the story. That's why it's really important to discover the story that is running your life. Okay? This is why I'm asking you to do this. Discover the story that runs you, the story that keeps you afraid, the story that keeps you in place, the story that will not allow you to express beautifully for the rest of your life. You might have been able to ignore it because you were busy working and busy raising children and busy doing a whole host of other things, but now you have more time to be with self. What are you planning on doing? So if all you're going to do is be bitter and hateful and or vengeful, it has you now, doesn't it? So just ensure that you are willing to let it go. And again, that takes great practice. There was a situation I had with my father where my father had always been the bane of my existence. There was this really ugliness between my father and I. And I had to practice letting go. I needed to practice that story. I needed to feel it throughout my body to the point now even my father has long since passed away, but I now have great appreciation for him as a human being and for what he must have been going through. I no longer put him in judgment. I thank him for a lot of the lessons he taught me. Actually, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be the person I am today. But that took work. I could have gone to my grave hating this person for what he did. But I let it go because I don't want to drag that energy with me through the rest of my life. I have things to do, places to go, people to see, and adventures to go through and stories to tell. I don't want that sitting on my shoulders. All right. So you might be experiencing the same thing and you may not even be aware of it. And that's why working through these 5 steps are of the utmost importance. Okay. So the decision to let it go Would you let it go? And what can you do to let it go? And that's why I need you to come back for the rest of the series, because I want to talk through some really great examples of how you can let things go, how you can start letting things go. And I'm going to just recommend, for instance, going through some what if questions. What if I let this go? What could my life look like if I let this story go? If I let these feelings go? If I stopped allowing the ugly feelings to run through me and to keep me hidden from the rest of society and opportunity and maybe great relationships, or maybe getting a better job, or maybe even improving my health. A lot of people carry around a lot of weight because they are hiding from something. I was overweight, big time, to the point where my blood pressure was always up, skyrocketing. But I was carrying a story that manifested as being overweight and obese. And not until I let that story go was I able to start working on my physicality. So you see, the change and transformation begins from the inside. A lot of people don't handle the stories inside and try to lose weight, and they may be successful, but then it comes back because the story keeps running below their awareness, right? Deal with the inside first so the outside has a fighting chance. Okay? So I'm going to leave it there for now. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot of information, and I want you to be able to think through these things one step at a time, and know that there will be people cheering you on as you move through this. And I invite you to keep walking along with me here, and many others that are going through similar changes, similar decisions, and you will go take 2 steps forward and fall back 1, 2 steps forward, fall back 1, 2 steps forward, 2 steps forward, 2 steps forward, slide back 1. That's life. It's never a straight shot forward. When you're comparing yourself to others that may have gone through and been successful, you didn't see the messiness. You didn't see the messiness of me going through this for the last 10 years or so. It was truly, and I almost gave up on myself, and I said, no, I'm worth fighting for. Get to the place where you are worth fighting for, where you can make that decision. You matter. You're enough. But there's work to do, okay? So I invite you to follow me at mojoresources.ca, and you'll see the listing of some what-if questions that you can bring in to add to some of these steps here. And it's a resource for you to start on the road to wholeness and to vibrancy. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.